Okay, so I'm out at the Shenandoah, Texas Supercharger. One supercharger station has been iced by a Chevy Spark. There are 8 chargers out here. Okay, V3. And surprisingly enough, my car is the only one that I was just charging. I just finished charging, but my car is the only one out here. I did see one other when I got here. Pretty nice location. There's a Black Bear Diner at that end. There's a women's retreat, martinis and manicures, so that's cool. Daiso, excuse me, sushi spot, aesthetic smiles. So there's a dentistry over there, and then Jack's. I think that's a restaurant. Kind of looks like it may have some burgers, fries, and salads. Movie theater over here, Crawfish Cafe. So kind of looks like a lot of cool stuff out here. This looks like some type of Mexican restaurant. Interesting thing about Texas is I don't see a transformer out here. I assume maybe this is a transformer, maybe it's an underground transformer, but this is right off a major highway out here in Shenandoah, and it's a very poppin' place. It's a tight parking lot. There's not a lot of parking, and these superchargers are just super underutilized, you know, which I assume a lot of people here just charge at home. And you know, EV adoption out in Texas is not what it is out maybe in California and stuff, but I would have to give this supercharger a 8 out of 10. I mean, it's a wonderful location. You got a lot of amenities here if you wanted to do something, and it's not busy, and it's in a great location. It's a busy location. This is a location where, you know, kind of north and south, just north of Houston would be a big area. So great location. I'm gonna do, all right, we're gonna set this up. We're gonna listen to some Tesla talk, which I think is perfect for this. Let me make sure. Yeah, let's see.
I think Tesla's maybe just trying to disincentivize people from...
Okay, cool. So I'm going to record maybe, you know, 10-15 minutes of FSD with some Tesla talk. And we had the Shenandoah review. So enjoy. And if you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the underneath the video. Thanks.
People were expecting Maxim to conclude that there'd be a cut on Model 3, but there's no reason for Tesla to cut price on Model 3 if they're not building any, right? So that's, you know, I think that's another fact, another source of evidence there. And also, if you look at the inventory trackers, so there's a few sites that track Tesla inventory. They scrape their website, and they can actually measure this. Model 3 inventory is very low, so there's definitely going to be a loss, a hit in the US from lack of Model 3 production. It's not a demand issue, it's really a...
We're going to go into FSD here in 1 second. And just for the record, the Twitter account that's having this Twitter Spaces is TSLA Fan MTL. So James, he goes by James Cat. So this is his Twitter space. We're listening during this FSD drive. So just want to thank you, James Cat. I'm gonna go FSD in 1 second as soon as I get onto the road.
And again, you can see this, different data sources. You can see just by the videos that are posted every other day, or even sometimes daily. Tracking Austin, there's the VIN data that Troy tracks that shows production is growing. So it's very positive. Giga Texas is, I think this is going to be the strongest quarter for Giga Texas maybe ever. Maybe about it. Actually, it's going to be the strongest quarter ever.
Yep, that's
I'm also forecasting about 2,000 Cybertruck deliveries this quarter, so you know that's going to help as well. But overall, oh, and the other thing is Canada. So the Model Y in Canada, early February 4th, February 6th. February 4th was the long range Model Y price cut. February 6th was the performance. And what it did, at least I can tell you, like where I live in Quebec, before that price cut, Model Y long range wouldn't qualify for, there's a provincial incentive in Quebec. Quebec and British Columbia are the two strongest EV markets in Canada in terms of provincially. And Model Y long range qualified in BC, whereas it didn't qualify before in Quebec. But now, after this price cut at the beginning of Feb, it does qualify. And I visited Tesla's, just for fun a few times since the price cut, and it's always been really, really packed. So the takeaway there is Canada, historically has been a small market, 10,000 units per quarter, but I think this quarter they're going to over deliver. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a 15,000, all of that growth coming from Quebec, essentially on the back of that price cut. We also see it in the organic search data that Canada jumped, month over month. February was a huge jump over January. So we're seeing more traffic, more interest in Tesla, and I'm sure a large part of that's Quebec, and that's going to help Tesla sort of offset the weakness that we're seeing due to Model 3. So if we assume they lose 25,000 units of sales because of production, but then they gain, let's say, 10 to 15 with increased production from Giga Texas and from Canada, there's still going to be an offset. There's still going to be a loss there, maybe like a 10,000, 15,000 unit loss quarter over quarter coming from North America. So if you add up the three markets, and you assume the rest of the world stays relatively flat, it won't change much. There may be a variability of 5 or 10,000 cars. In fact, I think Korea's going to have a good quarter this quarter. But if we assume the rest of the world stays relatively flat, and then we're seeing the down market in China and Europe and in the US, deliveries are probably going to drop by about between 40 and 45,000 units quarter to quarter. So it's very big. Coming into the quarter, I was optimistic that, especially with the January data that we had, China was a strong month, and Europe was a strong month. I was thinking like 480 was possible, like probably somewhere between, let's say, 460 and 480. Now I'm more on the bearish side for deliveries. I'm more at the 440 number. I think 440 is realistic with an upside of maybe 450, again, depending on the rest of the world. And the downside is probably around 430. So the range that I'm in now is between 430, 450, and I'm using you'll see in the income statement, I'm using 440 as my estimate for deliveries. So it's quite a big drop, and that's the biggest reason why, of course, if you look at the previous iteration of the income statement, which had 480, now I'm at 440, and you'll see that the bottom line drops. This is the biggest contributor to that, in addition to the price changes in China. So that covers the delivery picture. Maybe before I jump into the income statement, I'll allow you guys to I'm gonna look at the chat here. Before, what charts? So I shared in the subscription, I put a post. Hold on a second. Let me unmute people. If you guys have any questions, unmute or feel free to request, and I'll limit you guys. You can actually speak. But I did put, right before the space started, I put a post with the charts that I've been talking about. Have you guys seen those? I hope I haven't just been talking about the charts and you haven't been able to see them. Somebody's requesting here. John, hey, you're unmuted. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question if you have one.
Yeah, it was on the European data. I was speaking to a few people and doing some research, and yes, there's a lot of talk about Elon's impact on the deliveries and so on. But if you look at the economic data and so on, there's actually, I would say that I have noticed that Elon has relatively minor impact on the deliveries in Europe. It's mostly the economy in Germany and other countries are having a much broader impact, and also obviously there's outrage over what he's saying about Ukraine and so on. Especially the discussion in the US and North America is quite disconnected compared to what the Europeans feel like. But the impact that it's having is far smaller than people really give it, that people really think that it is. So I wouldn't put it as significant. Also, So yeah, also another thing that I was looking at is that while people say, yeah, Elon and his management style is bad and it's having a bad influence on Tesla and its deliveries, you also have to notice that the global economy is in quite a bad shape as well. So, just look at China and so on. They are having, while the reported growth is quite large, still at 5%, if I remember correctly, the real data is obviously, the data is almost definitely false. And if you combine that with the poor data coming from Europe and also the mostly two-speed economy in the US, where the middle class that is actually buying the cars is having major issues, I would say that the current data is quite unrepresentative of the actual state that Tesla is in. So yeah.
Thanks for your comments, John. Hey, I just realized actually, some of you guys may have noticed this, but this was actually supposed to be a subscriber space, and I think it's open to everybody. So like, there's 200 people on the call. Like, who are all these people? So it's interesting. I guess this will be an open space, and yeah, usually these are reserved for subscribers. But thank you all for being here and for listening. I'll run the space as if you know, I very normally would. Although there may be more questions than usual because there's more people on than usual. So thanks for your comments, John. I appreciate that. I agree, and it's nice to hear your voice. We've chatted through DM like for years now. We have never actually spoken, so it's cool to hear you. And welcome everybody else. So welcome to the space. Like I said, this is usually reserved for subs. I think I forgot the setting when I set it up. So we're gonna have a bigger group than usual this month. Any other questions? And now I understand why some of you haven't seen the charts that I shared, the visuals, because I only shared those appropriately to the subs. I didn't share them broadly to everybody. So some of you are not seeing those things. But basically, just to clue you guys in, what I did was prior to the space, I sent out some charts looking at where we stand from a sales perspective in Europe and in China, looking at our month 1 and month 2 sales relative to the previous 4 quarters. And I'm extrapolating the sales for March and coming up with an overall forecast for the quarter. So the total number is looking like, you caught this, but I think they're trending towards 440 with a downside of 430 and an upside of 450. So 20,000 unit range there. But overall, I'm expecting deliveries to drop by quite a bit quarter over quarter, given the data that we have on China and Europe. And given the data that I have that I shared with subs for the month of January in the US. Any other questions? I can jump into the income statement otherwise. And there's one more request here. Edward, I'll allow you to. There you go. Feel free to unmute yourself, Edward.
Hello. Thanks a lot for accepting the question. So just a question about Germany and the second one about the rest of the world, because in December incentives were cancelled, as everybody knows. So the ministry was saying end of December that they expect the battery electric market to be minus 40% in 2024 versus 2023. I don't know why Troy was so bullish on Europe with Germany being so weak without incentives. And I don't see March being 40,000 with Germany that does not participate. So I expect Germany February to be 3, maximum 5,000, and March to be not that different. France, on the other hand, can do better as they usually do on the third month, because inventory discount have not really been present in Europe in February. So probably 6,000-7,000 is a possibility. And as I posted here, in Belgium and France, there were some huge inventory discount just in the first week of January. 1% gross margin, some cars, of course, not all of them. So on Europe, I would be a bit more negative than you. And thanks a lot for the space. It's very useful. I thought it was for subscribers.
So, from people closely tracking it, it sounds like Tesla the consensus is that Tesla's going to sell less cars than Q4 of 2023. You know, there's always fluctuations. I know just because you drive Tesla, just because you drive FSD, doesn't necessarily mean you're a stockholder, but a lot of times it does. A lot of times people who don't own Teslas actually own Tesla stock. So interesting conversation, something to keep in mind. I mean, the way I see investing is most of the, 99% of the time, I think you got to take a long-term approach. That's a thesis that doesn't blow in the wind so much. I consider it less gambling. Of course, there's risk in everything. So interesting conversation. I'm going to wrap up the FSD video right now and end this, but I just want to thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'm going to bring more videos going over Tesla Superchargers, FSD. I cannot wait for V12 to come out. Then I'm really going to hit the FSD videos very hard, but right now I'm still with 11.4.9. But anyways, if you watched this and you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Thanks.